As you can see, if you'll open your New Testament to the 10th chapter of John, we'll kind of stay right there this morning. One of my favorite movies is It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart. And I don't watch many movies, but I like to watch that one. I can almost do the dialogue. I've seen it so many times. But let's label our lesson, It's a Wonderful Life. And let me ask you a question. How would you fill in the blank there you see on the screen? Life is. I hope that's the blank on the screen, yes. Life is. Now, Forrest Gump said, life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. F. Scott Peck began his book, The Road Less Traveled, and he said, the first line, life is difficult. I went to a timeshare meeting one time, and the only time I ever went, and I'm not going to one again, but the salesman said, life is not a dress rehearsal. You only get to live it once. What is life? Jesus said, I am come that they might have Zoe, not bios or biological life, but Zoe. That's a little different concept there. Zoe is real life, divine life. So what is life? I've had that filled in with life is a rat race. I think there's an old song, life is like a bowl of cherries. One scientist said life is just amino acids. Well, see, he forgot about our souls, but that was his view. One fellow said life is a series of choices. Another, life is just a paycheck. Life is a weekend. Life is a party. What is it that you would put into that line? And why is it that we have to describe life at all? I think sometimes, brothers and sisters, that we have to reduce our idea of life to the size we can handle, and so we try to give it a definition. And as we try to give our lives definition, a lot of things come along that steal our real lives away from us. What is life? Some people think, well, life is just the time between birth and death. One fellow described it as the hyphen on your tombstone. From 1939 to, and there's your life, the hyphen in the middle. I talk to people who think life is no more than the drudgery of existence, the boring monotony of routine. I hope I have enough until I'm dead. What is it that people buy into when they ask that question, what is life? And I wonder sometimes if our lives have been stolen from us because we spend so much time trying to describe them. Look at verse 10 of John 10. A thief, he says, comes not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. What? Yes, there are things that can steal the real life from us. And Jesus drew from a very familiar scene for them of shepherds on a hillside, and they're keeping watch over their sheep. And he says, but not the shepherd, but a hireling will try to steal the sheep. Or a hireling will only work so long to protect them until he's thinking it's inconvenient, and so he'll quit. But this one lies down at the gate of the sheepfold. He's the good shepherd, verse 14. I am and am known of mine. I am the good shepherd. The job of the shepherd was to lead, protect, and feed. And Palestinian sheep are pictured always as following the shepherd. He doesn't drive them, he leads them. And Jesus said, when I come, I'm going to take my sheep to the real pasture. I'm going to take them to real life. But unfortunately, there are lots of forces trying to steal life from us. They try to take away our understanding of what is that which makes us blessed. You can travel down a lot of roads nowadays, brothers and sisters, and they all lead to destruction. And I don't suppose we'll call them thieves and robbers, but that's exactly what they are, and I want to mention a few of them to you right now. And the first one is you won't find life in pleasure. You know, if I could only take a cruise, I'd be happy. Or if I just had enough to retire in luxury, I'd be happy. Oh, if I could just fulfill my dreams, I'd be happy. If you have an Old Testament, open to Solomon's Ecclesiastes 1:8. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, he said, or the ear filled with hearing. Try as he could not find true life in everything he pursued. And the reason is it takes a bigger thrill or a bigger event or another high which never lasts because I need another one that's higher than that one. Brother Cooper just scared me to death a moment ago. He said that was a good lesson this morning. I'm expecting the next one to be better. Well, that's that idea. It's got to be the next one. When I was a boy, I saw my first television set in 1948. It was 7 inches around, Joe. And on that screen, I saw wrestling. And I won't call it wrestling because that's not even a word, but they say it down in Mississippi all the time. But those folks were wrestling. It wasn't the show that it is now. They were actually wrestling. What happened? That never satisfied folks. As the screens got bigger, they had to have more excitement and more obscenity and more whatever, because in pleasure there's always the need to get better and better and better. You know what I bought the other day? Some Better Tide. I don't know what was wrong with the old one. We buy into that all the time. The next one will be better. But all of that, Solomon found out, was vanity. It doesn't last. And so pleasure can steal life from us. It's also the case that real life cannot be found in performance. One job completed is a short-lived happiness. I heard one Wimbledon champion say that he thought all of his life that winning that championship would make him so happy. But he said, that thrill of victory lasted for me about 10 minutes. What happened? There's a myth, and it's in many books now that you can buy, that says success produces life. I think sometimes I taught that to my children when I kept insisting that they do better and work harder and all that kind of thing. Look at Ecclesiastes 4:8. I'm going to paraphrase it because what Solomon was saying, that man is always working and he's never satisfied. And that's exactly what that verse means. Man is always working, but he's never satisfied. I cannot find it in performance. Some of the busiest people in the Bible were some of the most irreligious. If you look over at the 6th chapter of Matthew for a moment, you'll read about some folks who walked around and announced, I'm about to pray. I'm about to give alms. They were so busy, and they wanted everyone to see their busyness, and Jesus all the time was condemning them. It's not bad to want to do better. It's just the case that doing better may not make me happy. It may not be the life that I'm really seeking. I sat with her in her kitchen, Bess Womack. Hanging over her table was a light bulb on a wire. She had 2 chairs in that kitchen. Some of the linoleum on the floor had some holes in it. One of those chairs had no back. She tried to offer me that one with the back. I quickly got in the one without the back. This is an older lady. The pump wasn't on the counter, folks. It was out in the yard. The water pump. You may not know about those, but I'm old enough to. Oh, you've seen them on TV. Thank you. Thank you. That was good. And I said to her, Sister Womack, and I was a young preacher, and I really knew everything, boy. I said, I want to help her. And I said, Sister Womack, how do you deal with being alone? Boy, she preached to me. She said, young man, I'm not alone. I straightened up, then almost fell out of that chair. That's exactly right. That lady had nothing that you'd say in this world's good. She was one of the most pleasant, happy people I've ever met. And I think she found out what life really was. She said, I'm not alone. My master's with me. You won't find this life in performance. You also won't find it in possessions. Ecclesiastes 5:10. And this says in the one of the texts, one of the translations, the one who loves money is never satisfied with money, and whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with income. This too is vanity. The more you got, the more you want. The British have a saying that they passed around during World War II a lot. They said, if you've never had it, you don't want it. That's exactly right. Ask yourself a question, brothers and sisters. In this country, we've had more money than we've ever had. How come we're not happy? You live in America, you're living in the top 5% of the income of the world. Why aren't we the happiest people around? What's the problem? Man is always working, Ecclesiastes 4:8, and never satisfied. The paycheck's never big enough. There's really never enough. Possessions, you won't find life in position either. If I could just get a big promotion, I'd be happy. If I could just live in that area where he lives, I'd be happy. One of the unhappiest people I've ever read about was Howard Hughes. And you talk about money and prominence, he had it. But he certainly learned you can't find life, real life in position. You won't find it in your pursuits either. If I stay busy enough, I'll discover life. What you find out is you get ulcers and heart attacks and stress. Look at verse 10 again. John 10. The thief comes. And all of these that I've mentioned, performance and position, pleasure, pursuits, all of those things are thieves. And they dispense destruction, disease, and death. A fellow had everything probably this world could offer in terms of money. And he even hired a tutor for his son. Because he was so busy. Well, when the stock market crashed in the 20s, 1929, he lost everything. So he had to take a menial job, and the offshoot of that was he couldn't have that fellow to take care of his son anymore, so he had to do it. And one day the little boy was sitting on his daddy's lap, and he said, Dad, don't get rich again, because I can't sit on your lap when you're rich. He pursued it, but it was leading to unhappiness for his son. The stealers of life. I didn't bring that one up. Right, sir. This is a statement I found in one of the commentaries. And the essence of it is what we've been saying, that all of these things we pursue in life are meaningless. When I come to the end here, and I am very close to it, I think, but when I come to the end and they close that lid, it won't matter how long I taught at the Memphis School of Preaching. It won't matter what my titles were. It won't matter how many degrees I got. What will matter is, did I find real life in the right place? That's the only thing that's going to matter. So let's go back to verse 10 now. The source of abundant life. It's not pleasure, performance, possessions, position, or pursuits. It's found in a person, of the person of Jesus Christ. And he says again and again and again, I am the author of life. If you know me, you'll never die. I am the resurrection and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. You can't go without Jesus. You can't know without Jesus. You can't grow without Jesus. There is no way to have real life if he is not the central of it. The most powerful statement he made regarding his mission is right here in John 10:10, as far as my opinion is concerned. A thief comes but to steal and to destroy. I have come. What's your purpose, Lord? I came out of heaven, entered a human body. I let them lay my little baby body in a feed box. I was humiliated. I did all of that, Keith, so that you could have Zoe, real life. The I in this verse is in the emphatic. I myself am come. Go at me, Bill. I myself have come. He's very emphatic. No one else can do this. And the only way I can enter real life is through Jesus himself. How could this be? How could this be? Because the abundant life requires a special relationship to exist between the shepherd and the sheep. You have to understand something about him. As Brother Colley pointed out to us, this is a metaphor. I am the door of the sheep. Doesn't have a door handle. He means that he's in the place of protection. You want protection in life? It's Jesus who offers it. That's just exactly what a shepherd does, particularly the one who's devoted to his sheep. George Adam Smith, an Englishman who traveled extensively in the Middle East, came across a sheepfold one time, said to the shepherd, "This is where the sheep go at night?" And the shepherd said, "Yes, and when they go in there, they're perfectly safe." And the Englishman looked at this thing and said, "There's no door." And the shepherd said, "I'm the door." "What do you mean by the door?" And that shepherd said, "When the light goes out and all the sheep are inside, I lie in that open space, and no sheep ever goes out but across my body, and no wolf comes in unless he crosses my body. I am the door." George Adam Smith didn't say it, and evidently that shepherd didn't mention it. But did you notice there's only one door? One door. He didn't say, "I am one of many ways. I am one of many doors." He said, "I am the door." The fold only has one entrance. Life only has one source. Spiritual nourishment is only obtained one way. Heaven can be entered through one entrance. And the single means of access to all of this life is Jesus. There isn't anyone who can else give that to you. That's it. What a statement. I am come that they might have life. I hope you realize that there's never been a time, there cannot be a time, when eternal beings don't have the same thought eternally. And so they have always known, if that's even a possible expression, what his task would be. They didn't just think it up. It's part of their eternal nature. And this one, the second person of the Godhead, is special to me. I hope he is to you. For a quick moment, run your fingers back to Isaiah, the 6th chapter. Let's stand with that 8th century prophet, probably from about 740 to 690 BC, somewhere in there. 50 years. He's commissioned by Jehovah. In fact, he sees Jehovah. Watch now. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also Jehovah. Stop there a minute. John said, no man has seen the Father at any time. But Isaiah said, I saw Jehovah. I know who that is that he saw because John the Apostle told us, John 12:41, he saw the second person of the Godhead. And here we're learning that in all of eternity, this one existed. And I have no idea what it means to step out of eternity and come here. I don't know what that trip's like. I'm going to do it in reverse, but he did it coming this way. And I don't know what that's like at all. But from all eternity, he knew exactly what was going to happen and what was going to happen to him. And in the text that Glenn read a while ago from John the 13th chapter, in that text, he knew exactly what was going to happen when Judas went out and betrayed him. And he told the apostles so. So he always had in focus his mission. It was to come because everybody down here had no life yet. You know, I heard a preacher say one time, graduate of one of our colleges too, he said from the pulpit that God could have saved us any way he wanted, he just decided to send his son instead. The Lord turned that thing upside down. He said, I am come. Always his mission, that they might have life. He had to come, or we'd have no life. It's just the way it is. He had to satisfy God's justice when Adam sinned in the garden. You got a perfect man sinning, you're going to have a perfect sacrifice. There wasn't any other way to do it. That's why he said, if it be possible, let this cup pass. It wasn't possible. He knew that. But he also was dependent on prayer. I am come. Now think about that. That they, even the ones in the first part of the verse, the thieves and the stealers, even they, I'm come that they might have life. You heard from John 13 a while ago, Jesus washed Judas' feet. He died for him too. He died for all those Pharisees who were after him all the time. He died for the very ones that nailed him to that cross. He came that we might have life. And that, overflowing. So let me ask about the significance of life here. Somebody might say, Keith, I'm already living. I have breath. I can breathe. Isn't my heart pumping blood? Yes. But that isn't what Jesus means. The life that Jesus gives is infinitely and eternally different from the life I now possess. In the Greek vocabulary, bios, you got our English word biology, bios. That's a word for life. But this word is zoe. Bios means physical life, your lifespan, the time between your birth and your death. And it involves the necessities of life, food, shelter, clothing, biology. But zoe, you've been to the zoo? Zoe. You know what zoology is? Zoe, all right? That's the life that God has. This life belongs to the Godhead. And until I get into the sheepfold, listen, until I get into the sheepfold, until I cross the doorway of Jesus, until I enter into a relationship with God, it's not a duration of physical life that he's talking about. It's talking about an eternal, infinite infilling of God himself, who is now breathing life into me. My parents gave me bios life, but being born again gives me the real life. And I'm going to have to cross that doorway of Christ and enter into a relationship with God. I might be physically alive, but I'm spiritually dead. Verse 10 again. I'm come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. Let's connect something now. Mark 10 and Matthew 20. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. He washed their feet. The concept didn't come to his disciples right away. And he's in front of some Jews when we read the verse here in John 10. So the message is for everybody now. And Jesus says, I am come that they might have life, but then he qualified it. Have it in abundance, full, overflowing. Have it in abundance means that whatever I need, he'll supply. How many of you can quote Matthew 6:33? Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. What happens? All these things. Dorothy and I had a good friend named Joe Baxter. Great singer, teacher of singing and song leading, great Christian man. We have in our car right now 3 CDs of his singing. And one of the songs came to my mind when I was thinking about, I'm come that they might have superabundant life. And he sings about thanks to Calvary. And he talks about going home where he was and growing up. And the people ask him, why don't you come down to this particular place we used to go? He said, thanks to Calvary. I don't go there anymore. And then he tells about going home, and his little son runs behind the door and hides because the daddy he knew scared him to death. He's mean and ugly. And then he tells the little boy, thanks to Calvary, your daddy doesn't live here anymore. He beat her up, this guy did, and his children. He ran around on her. He drank. Her father came and got her one day and said, you're going home with me, and so are my grandchildren. A day or two later, that fellow showed up there and banged on his father-in-law's door. Said, I came for my wife and my children. The father-in-law said, you're not welcome. Get off my porch. No, sir, I'm taking my wife and children home. No, you're not. I know what you did to my daughter. You beat her, you cheated on her, you drank all the time. He said, sir, I never did that. That really upset the father-in-law. He said, not only that, you've abused my grandchildren. He said, sir, I didn't do that. He said, listen, you get off my porch. He said, you don't understand, sir. I became a Christian last night. That was that old man that did that. Because he that came to give life gave it in superabundance. He gave it a new vitality, a new meaning, a new energy, a new purpose, a new significance, a new outlook, a new hope, a new joy, a new life. And when I came up out of that watery grave, I walked in what? Newness of life. It's hard to explain, I know that. But how many of you know what a Ford Escort is? It's a little car, isn't it? Well, did you ever rent one for a vacation? Bill did, he said, okay. Now, I don't have anything against Ford Escorts, okay? But one time, Dorothy and I went to Hartford, Connecticut, and we rented a Ford Escort. That's what they gave us. We got around with it, okay. It got good mileage. Ran fine. Got us where we needed to go. But let me suppose something. Suppose Dorothy and I had gone to the car rental place, and instead of a Ford Escort, the lady said, "I'm sorry, we're out of those. Would you mind an upgrade?" You know what an upgrade is? She says to us, "And the only car we seem to have is a Lincoln Town Car. Would you mind that upgrade? Would that be all right?" "Of course that will be all right, lady. Same price." So we hop into the Lincoln, and off we drive in style. You know what? That car wouldn't have got me to my destination any faster. But I would have gotten there in greater comfort and luxury. You see, I had a car in abundance then if I'd had that one. And we would have felt better about ourselves. Look at us, boy, Mississippi folks driving in a Lincoln Town Car. What's my point? We're living in the first class section when we drive that Lincoln Town Car. I've been jealous of Brother Bland for years. He got an upgrade one time on a plane, got to sit in the first class section. He got there just the same time the folks back there did, but he had an upgrade. Our seats, or his seat, had been upgraded. Our car was not, but I wish it had been, I suppose. You know what God was up to when he sent Jesus here? Figured it out already? He wanted to give us an upgrade. He wasn't offering us a life that's just good. He was offering us a better one. Not just a full one, but a fuller one. I love it when Brother Taylor says that our lectureship just gets gooder and gooder and gooder. I don't know that that's even a word, but that's what he said. And that's why Jesus came, so you would get gooder and gooder and gooder. He's your friendly ticket agent. If you're not already on board, he wants to book you a flight to glory. And the ticket's free. Doesn't cost a thing. And while you're on the journey here, he's also offering you an upgrade, a peace, a surety, goodness. He's offering you a wonderful life. And there isn't anyone else who can make that offer. Do you believe that he's the I am in that human body? If you do, would you make a decision this morning to do what he tells you to do so you can get on board? He tells you to stand up in front of witnesses and tell everybody you believe he's deity. And then he wants you to be immersed in water, buried with him in baptism into death from your old past. And when you come up out of that watery grave, God's going to take away all the guilt of your past sins. He's going to take away all of your insecurities. He's going to place you in the church of Christ. He's going to place you in his Son, and in his Son is the faith that gives you the abundant life. I think probably this morning I'm talking mostly to Christians, but I want to suggest something to you. If your life's not better, what happened? If you don't have that peace, what went wrong? Who got in the way? Who did hinder you? You did run so well. He came so that his people would have a superabundance of better things. If that's not the case, maybe you need help. Maybe you need prayer. Maybe you need to be baptized. Whatever your need, please make it known while we stand and while we sing.
Jesus is King.